Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Duke It Out Wrestling Podcast, where I, Duke, talk about events from the past, present, or future in the world of professional wrestling. Now, AEW's 8th annual Double or Nothing is this weekend, and it's already crazy to think that there's already 8 Double or Nothings. It really doesn't feel like it. Time is a fucking bitch. But anyway, I am really excited for this pay-per-view. There's a lot of great matches to look forward to, and in typical AEW tradition, there was an 8-match card that I was so excited for, and then week of, they add 3 or 4 more matches to the pre-show and 2 more to the main card. Now it's okay, yeah, it's another AEW card where it's gonna be 5 fucking hours long, and I can't complain too much when I know pretty much all of it is going to be quality. So I'm going to predict every single match on the main card and the 0 hour / pre-show, and I will give my predictions on who I think will win or who I want to win and talk about both, but mainly lay out who I think is going to win every single match at Double or Nothing this upcoming Sunday. And I will first get into the pre-show, and the first match that I will talk about is the 5-minute Eliminator Tag Team match with Divine Dominion going up against Zeta Steel and Viva Van. And if Steel and Van last the 5 minutes, they get a shot at the AEW Women's Tag Team Championships. I think this is a very clever stipulation to have for something like the pre-show. It has a bit more on the line, gives fans a bit more of a reason to really pay attention to it and make sure if you're at the show live that you're in your seat to at least watch this match before the actual show kicks off. I think that was a great way to really bring more attention to it. And I think it adds a bit more unpredictability to it because Divine Dominion, Megan Bayne, and Lena Cross have been doing a great job being a dominant tag team. And I am very curious if Van and Steel can last the 5 minutes because Divine Dominion have been booked so well. And they have been known of like squashing some tag teams on Dynamite or Collision lately. So it kind of fits into what they've been doing. And I really hope that Van and Steel are able to make the 5 minutes. And I think that is the decision they're going to lean toward. I wouldn't be too surprised if Divine Dominion take the win just to really establish their dominance a bit more before they could be shown to be a bit weaker, even though they don't have to get pinned or submitted or anything for this match, as long as it just goes the 5 minutes. And then we can get a really good match on Dynamite or Collision between the two teams. So I will say that that Viva Van and Zeta Steel will get the win. And the next match I'll talk about in the pre-show is the typical Big Boom match for the 0 hour. It is Boom and Doom, the team of Big Boom AJ and QT Marshall, teaming with the conglomeration members Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, and Roderick Strong against Shane Taylor Promotions, members being Shane Taylor, Anthony Ogogo, Captain Sean Dean, Carly Bravo, and Lee Moriarty. This should be the same type of fun that most of these Big Boom AJ matches have been. We'll get the big Justice spot. We'll maybe get a Rizzler spot. We'll get some great moments in the ring because we got some very talented wrestlers in there as well. So, serviceable fun. Obviously, Team Boom is going to get the win. I don't think Big Boom AJ has lost a match on AEW, and I think they should start further acknowledging that he has an undefeated streak in AEW because it'd be kind of funny, even though it's a bit ridiculous, but whatever. It's always on the 0 hour. It's always harmless fun. So whatever. Let the wrestlers and Big Boom AJ get their paychecks. And the final match from the 0 hour I will talk about is the most recently announced match on the 0 hour, a trios match between the Death Riders members Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, and Daniel Garcia against the Ops members Hook, Anthony Bowens, and Katsuyori Shibata. This should be a really fucking fun match. I think with the talent that's in here, we could get a very slept on match or a way better match than we would anticipate in most matches from the 0 hour. Not to say that 0 hour doesn't deliver quality, but we're not going to get necessarily, say, a match of the year candidate from any 0 hour, I believe, to this day. But this could be up there with the amount of talent that we got here. All the members of the Death Riders are insanely talented along with the Ops. And I think specifically for Anthony Bowens, this could be a great opportunity for him to get some more spotlight for his singles career in AEW because ever since the split with the Acclaim, there's been some really cool moments with his singles run, but I don't think we have really been able to see how much he can really carry a feud or a certain spot, because I think he could really do well in this match, and I really hope he gets the main spotlight here. And I'm actually pretty excited because this one is honestly a bit unpredictable. You would maybe guess the Death Riders would win because they're more dominant, but the Ops have been getting a lot more TV time. So it really could go either way. And especially since it's Wheeler Yuta in the match, and he's obviously like the used pin magnet for any Death Riders match. So I think there is the chance that the Ops are going to take the win, but since the first two ones, I guess, are more so babyface wins, I will say that even though Death Riders are still tweeners, it's hard to determine still. I will say that the Death Riders are going to get the win here. And then maybe we can see a rematch on Dynamite or Collision between the teams where we can see the Ops get more momentum and beat the Death Riders. But I think in this case they're going to give the win to the Death Riders. And now we are on to the main card. And the first matches that I'll be talking about are the Owen Hart Cup tournament matches that are on this card. There are 3, 2 for the men and 1 for the women's, and I will talk about the 2 men's ones first. And the first one I will talk about, and what I think is probably going to open the main card, Will Ospreay versus Samoa Joe. Now, one thing I want to just say right off the bat, and I'm not the first one to say this for sure, one thing I am worried about with this Owen Hart Cup tournament, not to say that there aren't going to be any great matches, I think it is with the lineup of competitors, it's a bit predictable that Ospreay is going to win this, but also at the same time, you got Swerve there, and we know the finals is going to be happening at Forbidden Door, I believe, and so they can do a Forbidden Door rematch with Swerve and Ospreay, which would be fantastic. And I think if there is anyone who you can believe would beat Ospreay in the finals out of anyone else in that tournament, it's Swerve Strickland. And I think that would be cool. It could add into the story that Will hasn't been able to beat Swerve in AEW yet, but I think it can harm the intensity a little bit. Or maybe it's just because I'm over nitpicking just because last year's Owen Hart Cup finals between Hangman and Ospreay was was one of the most unpredictable matches in main event pay-per-view levels in recent memory. So maybe I'm just kind of overthinking it, but I think it's making it a bit too obvious that Ospreay's winning. But anyway, I will talk about the match itself. I'm really excited for Ospreay versus Joe. I don't think we have been able to see this match in AEW television quite yet. And I think this could be the potential to either be Samoa Joe's best match in AEW, or at the very least, his best singles match in AEW since his match with CM Punk at All In 2023. I am really excited to see how the storytelling for this is going to go, because they have told a great story with Will Ospreay joining the Death Riders and Samoa Joe and all the members of the Ops helping out Ospreay and Hangman with the whole Death Rider stuff. And so it kind of blends in Samoa Joe turning on Hangman in the similar reasons he's turning on Ospreay, but for completely different reasons, because Hangman never joined Death Riders. And I think they could tell a really great story here, and that Joe's aggression could really sell more into his beatdowns on Ospreay, and the fact that Joe is really wanting to make a statement could make us more fearful for Ospreay's neck, and Ospreay can really sell his injured neck, as we have seen. So I am hoping for a phenomenal match between the two. Like I mentioned, I'm hoping for the best singles match in Samoa Joe's AEW career thus far. And like I was mentioning, with it being a bit predictable that Ospreay is going to win this tournament, pretty obvious here. Ospreay's going to beat Samoa Joe. If Joe does win, I will have to eat my words and say, congrats, Tony Khan, you stunned my ass, because what? But there is the slight chance now that I'm saying it out loud, it could make more sense. But I don't think they're going to do that just yet, especially with what they're telling with Ospreay's story, to have him lose the first Owen Hart tournament match. I don't think would make much sense, but they could do it, so we'll see. And I was mentioning Swerve earlier, so now I will get into Swerve Strickland versus Bandito in the first round for the Owen Hart Cup tournament. I'm really excited for this match as well. I think they've been slowly building up this feud really, really well. With Swerve showing up at Supercard of Honor after Bandito's title defense, and along with that awesome video package that they showed on Dynamite with Swerve in the Western setting and burning Bandito's wanted poster. I thought that was really sick. And I'm very excited to see how much further Swerve's going to go in his heel levels here, because he's been doing a great job at slowly making his ring style more methodical over this past year. And I think here we could really see him do some dastardly shit to Bandito, or even maybe rip off his mask to get the pin. And if he does that, that would be some insane heel heat on Swerve. And I think that would be a great touch, especially if AEW gives them the time to have a phenomenal match, which I'm sure they will, and it could be a contender for match of the night. But like the predictability of the first Owen Hart Cup match, I do think it's a bit obvious that Swerve is going to take the win here, mainly because, like I mentioned earlier, I do think that the finals for this tournament is going to inevitably be Swerve versus Ospreay 3 because of that match on Dynamite. And the only women's match of the Owen Hart Cup tournament that we have is Mina Shirakawa against Athena. And I am very excited for this match. This should be really, really fantastic. They've already had fantastic matches before for Athena's Ring of Honor Women's Championship. And so I'm expecting greatness here. I would really hope that they get a bit more time than fans might be expecting for them to really showcase as much of their ring talents as they can. Like I was mentioning, I'm hoping for Samoa Joe's best singles match in AEW with his match against Ospreay. I'm kind of hoping for this to have this be Mina Shirakawa's best singles match in AEW. I'm not as confident that could happen because her matches with Toni Storm and Mariah May were really freaking good. But it definitely has the potential. And this one has a bit of a predictable result too. But I think in the first rounds of the tournament, that's just standard. It's usually in the latter halves of the tournament where it's supposed to usually lead to more of the unpredictability. And I do think that Athena is going to get the win here, especially with her almost getting close to the amount of days that Roman Reigns held his undisputed title. For how many days? It would feel kind of dumb to have Athena lose on pay-per-view again on AEW while she's still holding that championship. So I think Athena is going to get the win here. And the next match I'll be talking about will be Stadium Stampede. There's no Anarchy in the Arena, unfortunately, for this year, but we still get the second best Carnage stipulation in AEW, Stadium Stampede, with the competitors being Jericho teaming up with Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Jack Perry, along with the Hurt Syndicate members Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, against the Demands members Ricochet, Bishop Khan, and Toa Leona, against the Don Callis and the sorry, I'm messing up with the reading on this, and the Don Callis members Mark Davis and Andrade El Idolo, and the Dogs members Clark Connors and David Finlay. This should be the absolute carnage that we are expecting, and if we get exactly what we're expecting, I'm not going to be fucking disappointed. This is going to be a blast. There's going to be some great carnage here. I don't think they're going to do the whole music stuff. They might try to blend that Anarchy in the Arena theme in there a bit because they're not doing Anarchy in the Arena because this is at a stadium mainly. So maybe they will add that into there. And if I'm going to guess at what music they would have be playing, it's pretty obvious that it'd be Judas, right? Just because, yeah, it's fucking Judas. But this should be a ton of fun. To guess the amount of crazy ass spots that we're going to get, it'd just be dumb. Like, I'm not going to guess any particular spots here because basically the looks on my face of me guessing any certain spots, you could probably read it in your head of what I'm thinking the spot or what I'm thinking a spot could be. But I do think that Team Jericho is going to get the win here, especially because I think it's time for this feud with Jericho and Ricochet / the Demand to end. And Jericho hasn't gotten a win yet. And while there's the merch of Jericho just being the guy who gets beaten up by the Demand every week, I think it's time for Jericho to finally get a win on the Demand. And I think the match will end with Jericho getting the pin on Ricochet. And the first title match that I will talk about is Jon Moxley versus Kyle O'Reilly for the Continental Championship. I am really excited for this match. When they had their match on Dynamite, it immediately reminded me of like, oh yeah, their feud last year was really, really damn good. And Jon Moxley was doing everything he can to make Kyle O'Reilly look like a superstar. And if Kyle O'Reilly hadn't gotten injured after the match between them at Full Gear, it was seeming like they were wanting to build toward championship levels for Kyle O'Reilly, which would be astounding. So maybe they're trying to refresh that here because their match on Dynamite was another great match and ended with a time limit draw. And so Kyle O'Reilly demanded a rematch with no time limit draw. Moxley accepts. And I think that would be a great way to kind of finish that continuation on what they were wanting to do with Moxley putting over Kyle O'Reilly twice last year. But also at the same time, it's when it's different circumstances. And with the injury happening and with Moxley having a really hot build in the storyline with Ospreay and his Continental Championship win being incredible as well, I just don't know if they're going to capitalize on what they did previously and then give the belt to Kyle O'Reilly right now. I think that might be the better choice, but also in storyline wise, I could see why they'd want Mox to still have the belt while he's still really working on Ospreay's character. And so while my heart says Kyle O'Reilly, I really want to see him win this match, my head says Jon Moxley, and I gotta stick with my head on this one. If Kyle O'Reilly wins, I am going to be so happy. But I'm just thinking that it is not going to be Kyle O'Reilly's time yet, and Mox is going to retain, because I think he is going to be holding that belt at All In. Not to say that he couldn't. Please have Kyle O'Reilly win. That'd be awesome, but I just don't think it's happening just yet. If it does, I'll be very surprised and very happy. But just with my head, I'm predicting Jon Moxley. And the next match I will talk about is FTR versus Cage and Cope in a tag team I Quit match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. And if Cope and Cage lose, then they have to retire as a tag team. I was predicting that this was going to be a ladder match. If you watched my video talking about the Dynasty card, you would have heard me say I was guessing that they were going to be in a match involving something you could climb on. But I was wrong. And it does make a bit more sense because of the history that Cope and Christian have in AEW. They had their I Quit match for the TNT title, and they haven't had a ladder match in AEW at all. I'm pretty sure. Well, Christian has before Cope showed up, but I don't think Copeland has. And especially after his dive off the cage, I don't think he really wants to work with heights anymore, and I don't blame him. So this should still be a very, very fun tag team match. This is definitely going to be the most violent that we've seen these two teams go up against each other, and I think this is probably going to end up being the best match between the two teams. Now, I really love their match at All Out. I thought it was a very fun opening match. I thought them showing Cope's resiliency was a bit much, but I still really liked it, and I thought their match at Dynasty was really damn good. There's a bit of fear in there since Cope got hit in the head and bled hard way with the belt, but still really, really great. Now, over time, I'm thinking their Dynasty match is probably a tiny bit better, and I think this really could exceed both of them. I think this is going to be extreme carnage. Christian is going to do some very fun heel play with his cast, I hope. And I think it is finally going to end with Cage and Cope becoming AEW World Tag Team Champions. And likely will be the final tag team title win for Cope and Christian in their entire careers. And that is going to be a very bittersweet moment. But I am really excited to see it. Not to say that they can't pull a swerve on us and have FTR win, but I wouldn't be too mad because they probably just find some loophole to have Cage and Cope work as a team again. But I think it's just time. I think with the amount of time that they've been feuding, I think it's time to put the nail in the coffin on this feud. Not to say that the feud hasn't been great, but I think if they continue it after this, it would start to just get a bit too repetitive. So I'm hoping for a Cage and Cope win here. And next up is a fatal four-way for the AEW Women's World Championship. We have Tekla defending her title against Hikaru Shida, Jamie Hayter, and Chris Statlander. I am pretty excited for this match. I think having this be a fatal four-way was a really good idea, especially because with some certain Tekla opponents over the past couple of months, whether it was a rematch with Statlander or against Jamie Hayter, it was a bit more predictable for Tekla to retain. And AEW have been known to make some unpredictable moves in fatal four-ways, and in particular for the AEW Women's World Championship. At All Out last year, when Chris Statlander beat Tony Storm and I was there live and I'm blanking on the other two, but when Chris Statlander pinned Tony Storm, it was probably the biggest shock of that entire night. And so they could try to pull a swerve on that here, or they're really dependent on having us remember that to really have that unpredictability really be in the back of our minds, even if Tekla does retain, which I think is going to happen. So I think it should be a really great match. I think we're going to get some really close calls, especially on Shida, because I think the biggest shock value could be from her, since she hasn't been in AEW the longest out of everybody else, and she hasn't been as actively wrestling over the past year in the company. So I think her making some roll up attempts or something like that could add some extra intensity to it and make it really good. And I think Tekla is going to end up retaining, because I do have a feeling that it's going to be Tekla versus Mercedes Moné at All In. Not to say, or Tekla versus, I'm already forgetting the other, because I was thinking Athena could win because they were mentioning the Joker. It's going to be Mercedes. Yeah, Mercedes is probably going to win the Women's Owen Hart Cup. And I think it's going to be Tekla versus Mercedes at All In, so I will say that Tekla will retain. But if Shida or Jamie or Stat win, I'm not going to be too mad. Mainly in booking-wise, I'd be curious with Statlander winning, just because Tekla beat Statlander, so it'd just be weird to have Stat just win it back and not use it to also develop someone else beyond Tekla. But we'll see how everything goes. And wanting to double-check that I didn't miss out on anything else before I get to what I think are the final two matches. And I believe these are the final two matches. And the second to last match I'll be talking about is my most anticipated match for the show, Kazuchika Okada versus Konosuke Takeshita for the International Championship. The real singles match between the two that we have been waiting to see, and we are finally getting it. And I was there at World's End last year, and I was so excited for that opening match. And not to say that it wasn't great, but the ending did kind of simmer it a little bit. But we knew that there was going to be great continuation from it, and that fantastic moment of Takeshita letting go of Nick Jackson's ankle, so they could hit the Meltzer driver. That was one of my favorite moments of the entire year, because we had been waiting for it, and sometimes the most predictable moments in wrestling are the most right, and we have just been waiting for Takeshita to turn on Okada in the truest of forms, and that felt like the truest of forms, and it was so wonderful to see, and I cannot wait to see how awesome this singles match is going to be, because we have seen some wonderful teases over the years, whether it was the fantastic tag team matches that they've had with each other, teaming up against either Bro Dito or the Young Bucks, or the really good matches that they've been a part of, whether it was the match between them at World's End or that awesome triple threat at All Out last year between the two of them and Mascara Dorada. So I think we could get even higher levels here, and I'm really hoping for a match of the year contender. I could be overhyping myself, but I don't care. I've been waiting for this match for so fucking long, and I'm so excited to see how it all comes to fruition. And from what I think is going to happen here, I am wondering if there is going to be a rematch, but the fact that they've been building this up for so long, I don't know if they would want to have an instant rematch at All In, and it's just going to be one and done here for a few months. And if they are going to do that, I'm going to say Takeshita. I've been disappointing myself because I predicted Takeshita at World's End, and then we got that. And we got that result, but I think it's about time now for Takeshita to become a 2-time AEW International Champion. Please, AEW, make it happen. I won't be that upset if Okada does win, because it's fucking Okada. How can you be that mad? But, oh, it's Takeshita's time. It's Takeshita's time. Come on now. And finally, we get down to the main event. Darby Allin versus MJF for the AEW World Championship. Title versus hair. If MJF loses, he has to shave his head bald. And there have been some hilarious segments building up to this, especially in particular, MJF walking backstage past a bunch of either the bald workers backstage at AEW or at the arena, or bald talent members, including John Silver, Tommaso Ciampa, and Ricochet. And I thought that was absolutely hilarious. And MJF is selling the fear of this absolutely wonderfully. But if MJF heard me say that he was selling it, he would say that it's his real life here. So I'm sorry in advance, Max. But I'm really excited for this match. And I think with the hair thing and how they've been building it up in somewhat of a comedic fashion, just mainly in comedic, just because it's at the expense of Max. But also, Max selling the fear of it is also like really making us take it seriously and making us really wonder, are they going to pull the trigger with this? And are they actually going to have MJF go bald on AEW television? It could happen. Because with Darby's title win, while as fantastic as it was, I think a lot of AEW fans would agree with me when I say that after he won the title, I was thinking, what an amazing moment. This is probably going to be the shortest AEW World title reign in the in company's history. And is it the shortest reign in company's history? I don't think technically no, because of that CM Punk situation. I think that's why. I think technically it would still be Punk. I think. But regardless, a lot of people were thinking that Darby's reign was not going to be too long. Kind of similar to like a Mick Foley title reign when he first won the title against The Rock. I don't think he held it that long. I think it was less than a month. So, and a lot of people were assuming that with Darby Allin's reign, especially since he's been defending it in fantastic matches every single week, whether it's against Tommaso Ciampa, against Kevin Knight, or against Speedball Mike Bailey, or against Konosuke Takeshita. He has been having some fantastic matches for that belt over this past month. And also Pac. I just want to shout out all the opponents. All the matches have been fucking awesome. But I think, and part of me was even thinking maybe they will pull the trigger on MJF shaving his head, but I think we're going to be disappointed. And we're going to see MJF still have a full head of hair for the remainder of his AEW career, especially if the rumors are true with his flight to Turkey. But I think MJF is going to win the title back here, because I think it makes sense to a lot of fans' minds that it would make more sense for Ospreay to hold on to the world title at All In, and we would likely get either MJF versus Will Ospreay, or MJF versus Swerve, or maybe if Kenny beats MJF on Dynamite or something before All In, and we get Kenny versus Will Ospreay that a lot of fans have been hoping for, including myself. So it could go either route here, and Darby could still remain champion for another couple weeks, just for the fact of how fantastic he has been and how amazing his title matches have been, probably promoting the company even further. And so I was thinking maybe they would want to like give Darby those flowers and let him retain on a pay-per-view before they take the belt off of him. But I don't think they're going to do that. I think it is going to stick with MJF winning back the AEW Men's World Championship, becoming a 3-time AEW World Champion, and his hair will remain intact. So those were my predictions for AEW Double or Nothing. Thank you so much for listening, and please make sure to like this podcast, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, and duke out your Double or Nothing predictions in the comments below.